Hey, welcome everybody. Coach BK here with video 1 of a 4-part video series on swimming with grace and grit. A little bit about me. I am a 3-time Ironman finisher in 2019. I've done Wisconsin twice and Ironman Texas, and just a handful of, well, many handfuls of half Ironmans and whatnot. A little bit about me. I am a certified triathlon coach, run coach, strength, conditioning, yoga, nutrition, mechanical engineer. I am, probably more importantly for this conversation is, I am a older female with hormonal issues, in that, my fight or flight system is a little frayed. I'm hot and wiry, fiery, and I have dealt with post-traumatic stress in that I almost drowned when I was little. Had a lot of swim anxiety, probably off the chain swim anxiety. And then I came to the triathlon world after my middle son almost drowned in a pool as well. So that's how I started triathlon, is I just wanted to learn how to surf, and finally kind of dawned on me that I needed to learn how to swim better, and got hooked up with a swim coach and got signed up for Ironman Wisconsin when it was a mass swim start. And the rest is kind of history from there. It was really hard the first couple of years to recover and heal up post-traumatic stress from childhood stuff. But I gotta tell you, all the tears, all the bad words, all the times I got hauled out of the water in a kayak, all the tough swims. I have become very successful when I swim. I'm not the fastest swimmer, but for me, super strong, very confident. And I think that is kind of our expectations need to be addressed when we're talking about swimming. We'll get into that. But just a little bit about me. I kind of take a different approach to swimming, and I want to impart that to you, to give yourself lots of grace and know that you can develop a plethora of grit as well. And that balance between the two is a lovely thing that can change your life. So, when I did Ironman Texas, Ironman Wisconsin in 13, and it was a mass start at that time, I'm a little sad that they don't have the mass start, because it's one of the most beautiful places to race in Wisconsin. But just the sheer humanness of it, of showing up and getting into the water, of needing to manage yourself, and knowing that it's difficult and that everybody else surrounding you is going through the same thing. And then Wisconsin and its swim and how it's situated at the start is so beautiful, because the spectators are right there. Everything is just right there. And so when that gun goes off, the sheer energy in the sun coming up and just the smooth water, and it's really pretty there anyway. It's probably one of the most beautiful things I think that I have seen, just human beings showing up, putting all their guts and concerns and hard work, and the spectators, all the love and the support that they give to the athletes and whatnot. I think that is one of the things that we're addicted to in triathlon, is just that sheer energy. And that mass swim start was one of the best ones to experience. It was just so incredible to hear the swimmers in the water, to hear the spectators cheering, and then it's special to have to run up the double helixes. But the swimming part of triathlon can really grace your life with a lot of life lessons that you hadn't expected. So this 4-part series is meant to kind of give you hopefully a different perspective on swimming, on how to work through the obstacles of swimming. We're going to break it down into kind of some physiological things that are going on and how to work with those. We're going to talk specifically about how to manage open water swimming. There's some keys there that are very important. A lot of health things that need to be understood and addressed the swim-induced pulmonary edema. It's not that uncommon. Folks with asthma, stuff like that. We're going to talk about what to do. There's a lot of things nutritionally that you can do to help build into more hormonal balance, and we're talking more about the fight or flight system. A lot of us, that system is constantly bombarded, overworked, a little frayed, rough around the edges. And so then it makes it a little bit harder to calm down just because it's just on fire. There's some supplements and things that you can take that can help. And we're going to talk about very specific training things that you can do in the pool, outside of the pool, in the gym, in a chair, how to manage and what to do specifically to help your swimming, open water swimming, all of this stuff be a wild success. Okay, so I want to tell you a story about my last open water swim, and it was the first open water swim of the season because we went to Puerto Rico for 2 weeks. We were there for 2 weeks prior to the race, which you know what happens when you go to Puerto Rico with your friends that want to show you all the fun and games. So that was fun. And the Puerto Rican race, the 70.3, is like a phenomenal race, a wonderful race, a great beginner race, and I'm going back. So this little swim story is about just pointing this fact out, is that when you are swimming, you are not at the top of the food chain, not even close, okay? So I'm swimming, it's open water, and I'm a little crazy, and I've seen Harry Potter a couple of times, and this happened to me in Wisconsin too. The water's so clear that you can see the sea vegetation come up, and so I'm thinking about that Harry Potter movie with the mermaids that have teeth and they eat you, okay? So my last Wisconsin swim, I had to deal with a little bit of more anxiety because when I was swimming out there to the buoys and you're going down that ramp and you can see the vegetation and I'm thinking about mermaids, my heart rate's going tick, 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 and I have 5 voices in my head and all the other voices are making fun of me because one of them's like, BK, there are no mermaids. There are no mermaids with teeth. There are certainly no mermaids with teeth in Wisconsin. However, the heart rate's going anyway. So back to Puerto Rico, was swimming and doing pretty good with the swim, and got to the final push where the current's against you a little bit. It's choppier, and I passed this kind of like big round animal hut with a hole in it in the water that I can see. And one of the voices wanted to stop and like look and investigate, the scuba diver in me. But the other one was like, oh my God, I wonder what lives in there. Swim a little bit faster, because at that point I'm like, you are now going to be eaten. Anyway, so heart rate. And then I see more vegetation in the heart rate. And all the voices are making fun because there's no mermaids in the water. And probably no animals that are, going to eat me at that point. And then we go underneath the bridge, and it's just dark. So the point is that there's a lot of things going on mentally that are completely legit. And then some things that are going on mentally that are not legit. And so understanding the two things there and giving yourself a ton of grace, but knowing how to kind of ratchet things down, and throughout all of that funniness of the mermaids in Wisconsin and stuff, the reason why I was able to keep my heart rate from getting out of control is because I kept my sense of humor about me, but then I had practiced a lot of techniques that we're going to talk about in video 3 of what to do outside of the pool and what to do in pool workouts that will translate directly to open water swimming. So you're not at the top of the food chain in the water. You don't have gills. You don't have fins. Your place there, it's not a natural habitat for you. So we need to give ourselves just an epic amount of grace when we're dealing with swim anxiety, when we're dealing with people, you know, in the tri club maybe that are having troubles with the water, when we're dealing with that person that's a little bit slower in the beginning because their heart rate's out of control and their breathing is out of control. You don't have gills, you don't have fins, you don't have flippers. You're not a natural swimmer. Some of you guys are natural swimmers, and that's great. But the majority of us have spent a lifetime training and racing on our feet. And so when you get into the water, your orientation is different. Your environment is completely different. Maybe you can see, maybe you can't see. We are very visually orientated as well. You know, we trust and need and utilize our eyes a lot. And so the swimming portion of it is naturally difficult. So there's the grace. You know, the book, Calm the F Down and Rise to the Occasion, and we've talked about it a lot on the team. You have, and when I'm referencing my 5 voices, there's actually 6 of them. You have six parts of your brain that are all doing different things. They're all geared and designed to work together. If you want to catch the podcasts that we have on Calm the F Down and Rise to the Occasion, we talk specifically about how the brain is built. And one of the most important concepts in this talk and in that book is that you have a chimp brain, and it's your fight or flight. It is Darwin, it's survival of the species, it's very instinctual, and it works the fastest. Okay, it's quick, automatic, it's that fight or flight. So this is where how you're designed and the fact that we are on the go and stressed and hormonally we're off and our fight or flight system is frayed, where these two things make it kind of difficult to manage yourself in the water, because you have this very instinctual chimp saying, yo, what are you doing? You don't have any gills, you can't breathe, some thing out of this is gonna come and eat you, a mermaid. And it's fast, okay? And then you have your fight or flight system, your hormonal system that's a little frayed, and then the heart rate just kind of just escalates pretty quick. We don't know enough about the words like vagal tone, your sympathetic, your parasympathetic nervous system. Most of us aren't doing enough yoga and enough slowing down activities to know how to engage that vagal response to calm the heart rate back down. You have a vagal nerve in your body, and it will tug the heart rate down. It'll calm everything down. But we don't give enough emphasis to the breathing practices, to the mental practices, the repetition in the mind. We don't, the yoga stuff. That's where you learn how to control that chimp brain and bring things back down. So like I said, the chimp brain operates faster than everything else. It is designed to do that. It's not bad. It is how you survive, how you've been designed to survive. Like if you're driving and you instinctively see something and you need to, do something really quick, it's that chimp brain doing that, and it keeps you alive. The good news is that if you go into this with grace and grit and acknowledge it, and then do specific work to help strengthen that vagal tone, to identify that whole system, to practice breathing practices, and do some repetition and practice of that, it gives you just a smidge of space and awareness to understand what's going on, so then you can help calm the chimp brain down. The logic stuff gets a chance to kind of say, okay, hold on, no, there's no mermaids. There's no mermaids in Wisconsin. And there's probably nothing in this water right here in Puerto Rico with all this commotion going on that is actually going to do you any harm. And besides, there's all these other swimmers that have gone by and nobody else has been eaten. So if we can find the space to get the logic mind to kind of get control of the chimp mind, then things go a lot better. Videos 2, 3, and 4 are going to talk about very specific things to do with that. A lot of us are too hard on ourselves, and the expectations that we set for ourselves in regards to swimming are very counterproductive. Some of us are really good runners, or really good bikers, or really strong, or very just type A and very determined, and we like to compare ourselves. So comparison is good. Striving for a goal is good, but here we, in our society, we really take that over the top. In the yoga world, they say keep your own eyes on your mat, meaning don't compare yourself so much to what the instructor's doing, what the person's doing beside you. But we are very good at that. And, in these large groups and whatnot, or in the training groups or in the tri clubs, it's really hard to be okay with being the slower swimmer. And the experienced athletes sometimes lose the beginner or the slower kind of mind. Like, I'm never going to be a faster swimmer, even though I'm a strong swimmer, just because I have a heart condition. Well, you can't tell it. It's not written on my forehead. And I have experienced where, people kind of take that mentality that, you look like you should be faster. Why don't you work harder? And we take that mentality of not enough grace, and they don't know that, no, I can't work harder because, I'm dealing with AFib and I'm not medicating it for specific reasons. So, we're way too hard on ourselves, and our expectations that we set sometimes are a little too over the top, and we don't give ourselves enough grace to understand that you have been living your entire life on your feet. Okay, you've been running, you've been doing this and jumping around, and you're so used to your feet. When we change orientation and change to swimming, swimming is so much different. It's about grace, and it's about finesse, and it's about working with the water. And so you really have to keep yourself mentally in check on how fast the swim pace increases. You've got to do a lot of foundation work in order for all the pieces to go together well. And sometimes we get real frustrated and we hit these plateaus really hard because we don't take a step back and be like, okay, I am going to do what coach says, and I am going to do these body balance drills, even though it makes it to where I look like I'm drowning, the lifeguard's looking at me crazy, and it takes me 2 minutes to do a lane or a lap. But that's the type of work that we need to be doing. We need to not be focused so much on pace and so much on keeping up at the master swim class. And we need to really kind of take a step back with grace and understand, maybe I'm very right dominant, and that's why I'm swimming crooked, and. So, the expectations, I see it over and over and over and over and over again. Don't compare yourself to anybody else. Yes, if you're doing half Ironman, or whatever, and it's nice to meet the time requirements and working towards that. But there's a lot of grace in those time frames. So if you can show up slightly slower but a lot more confident, you're going to be able to deal with what Mother Nature gives you, because that's something hard that you can't practice, because Mother Nature is always pretty funny about the swimming stuff, right? You do all the pool work, you do this, you do that, but you might be faster but not as confident. So then when you go to open water swimming and she decides that it's going to be a super choppy swim and you don't finish because you were too focused on pace and too focused on keeping up with X, Y, and Z, you didn't do some of the other basic work. I coach my people to be very resilient in the water, to not be so driven by pace, but to be strong and confident in the water. And we went down to do the Redman Triathlon in, I think the crazy year was what? It might have been 16 or 17, folks will know. It was epically choppy. Oh my God. It was probably the roughest swim, short of NOLA in 2016. NOLA 16 was epic. ridiculous. Oh my gosh. But this red man race, it was pretty choppy too. It was so choppy that you had to be at the top of the wave in order to see where the buoys were at. But the buoys were moving, and I got to the point where I didn't know where in the world to swim. The kayaker was all over the place. He's like, I think the buoy's over there. And I was just bopping down in the water, trying to find a buoy to know which way to go. Ran into a friend of mine who was doing kayak support around some turn, and I'm like, hey, Adam, how are you? This is not fun. And he's like, yeah, no, not fun. Got ran over by another friend in a kayak on another turn because it was just so difficult to manage. Point being is that the swimmers that I was coaching made it because, yes, it was difficult, but they had resilience because they did their mantra work. They did the mental grit and gave themselves grace during it, didn't give up. So you can handle what Mother Nature throws at you if you do kind of a nice rounded swim kind of routine, coaching wise. So anyway, that was it was a fun day. Swimming's kind of like yoga, real yoga, where there's strength and there's stretch and there's finesse involved, grace and grit, this balance of not giving up, using your core really well, but being strong and at ease on the outside, this grace and grit. So it's a lovely dance, and it's one of these things that I see over and over once people get it. Like an athlete of mine just said today, I finally learned and felt what you were talking about the hips driving the motion. And once you get that, knowing that the hips and the core are your vital, your engine, then you start finishing swims not tired because you didn't work that hard, because you sort of developed into more of fish-like, fish swim like this. They're not working really hard with their flippers. Anyway, so think about your expectations, and give yourself a lot of grace. So let's move on. Video 2 is going to talk a lot about hormonal health, your fight or flight system, and this vagal tone that I'm talking about, a little bit more specifics on how this has a very large impact on your ability to calm the heck down in the water and to control your heart rate, control your mental grit, okay? Probably most of us are a little too stressed. We're not sleeping all that great. If we build into our hormonal health, and we need to be doing this anyway for endurance training for life, you will learn how to kind of control the pre-race anxiety, the race start anxiety, and then anything else that comes up. But physiologically, you've got some stuff going on. This is not all mental things that you need to learn. If your fight or flight system is out of control, your cortisol is all over the place, your catecholamines are all over the place, it makes calming down difficult, if not impossible. So, a lot of times when I first started, oh my gosh, it's another story. My first triathlon was in the West Y in Wichita, and it was in a pool that was 4 feet deep. You could not drown in it, I don't think it's possible. Do one of those little mini sprint tries where it's a 500, so 10 laps. I got so anxious and I generally lost control of half of my brain. The swim anxiety was so difficult. I couldn't see out of one eye, could hardly hear. When I say swim anxiety, it was profound. So much so that my coach at the time grabbed my hand at the end of a lane and said, "You have to calm down." And I'm looking at him and I'm seeing his lips move, and I'm sort of hearing him, whatever he's saying, sort of not. But I didn't know, calm down. But when your fight or flight system is so frayed like that, and you get yourself into a situation where it's post-traumatic stress, it's like a runaway train. It's a big skill, huge skill to know mentally, physiologically, how to calm yourself down when you get into that type of mental state, especially when it's connected with very traumatic, post-traumatic stress. And that's kind of where I came from. And so if I had the mental techniques in order to, and I do now, I don't need them anymore, but if you had the mental techniques to learn how to do that, but physiologically that system is still frayed, it's still like on fire, you really don't have a lot of chance of calming down in that situation short of time, short of letting the catecholamines dissipate and whatnot. So the folks that I coach and what I suggest is take a good look. If you're struggling with swim stuff, take a good look at hormonally this fight or flight system, your adrenals, how that healthy that system is, and make some changes to that. In video 2 and 4, we're going to talk about some very specific things that you can do nutritionally, how to eat better to help this, but then also there's some secret weapons on how to calm yourself down, how to get a little bit more chill with some of that stuff if you need an aid. Some of us do. So yeah, health-wise, hormonal-wise, and then electrolyte-wise, we're going to talk more about that too, physiological stuff that's going on. Electrolyte-wise, and touching on SIPE, the swim-induced pulmonary edema, touching on asthma. This stuff is for real, and it's not all mental. Physiologically, things are going on, and hopefully in this video series, you're going to be empowered to not just sign up for I have exercise-induced asthma and that's it, and this is all I'm going to do, and the inhaler, even though it raises my heart rate, this is the only solution. I'm going to give you some education pieces on there's some other things to do and some other things to be mindful of on controlling or eliminating swim-induced pulmonary edema or asthma-type reactions from swimming, such as running before you swim. If you can get your cardiovascular system primed up and burn through catecholamines, stress stuff, wouldn't that be smart? Before you swim, makes a huge difference. Huge difference. Okay, we need to have grace with ourselves on the physiological components of when we struggle with swimming, open water swimming. We need to have grace with ourselves on this, regardless of why you got into that bucket, why you're like that. If you have anxiety, whatever, have grace with yourself. It's a beautiful thing to learn how to manage this stuff, to learn how to heal that part. Through my first Ironman season, I did a yoga practice called Yoga Nidra, and just told myself that I was safe and I was strong and calm. And it took 2 times of doing this. It's sort of like a meditative, sort of self-hypnotizing, very deep kind of work, mental work, and is magic sauce. It was wonderful. I'd been doing a lot of other of these things too, but when I did Ironman Wisconsin, that first swim, I can't tell you, the folks that understand anxiety and post-traumatic stress and childhood stuff, the folks that have to deal with some behaviors and thought patterns being driven by things that you didn't choose and things that have happened to you, to have that something that drives you that's not you, and it's not your choice. You didn't choose to do that. To be able to be aware of it, to be able to work with it, to be able to manage it, and then to be able to heal it to where it's gone. For those that know, will know that it is by far one of the best things ever that has ever happened to me, and it was because I signed up for a Ironman that was doing a mass start swim. and I think that's why it makes it so special in Wisconsin, in that area, that I got to that race and I was fully prepared for the first 500 yards to be incredibly uncomfortable, because when you have anxiety of this nature, a lot of the times you just deal with and you're fine with, and you don't go any further than, I have to deal with the first 500 yards being sucktastic. Like you want to vomit. You sort of want to vomit in the water. Folks that understand anxiety know this about anxiety. It's not pleasant. If we knew how to calm down and get those feelings to go away, we'd do it in a heartbeat. So to intentionally put yourself in that situation over and over and over, and go to swim practices with your tri club, and half the people are joking around about dead people in the water and fish coming up and biting your feet. And intentionally putting yourself in that situation to learn how to deal with it, and then to try techniques to learn how to heal your heart, heal that post-traumatic stress so you don't have it anymore, is tough work. And I applaud anybody that actually takes the grit and the grace to do that work. That's life-changing work. And when I finished that first open water swim, I didn't have the 500 first part deal with it. I didn't have any anxiety in the beginning. It was just me. Me with that swim. Me with 3,000 other people in that swim. And I was enjoying myself so much because it was just me, finally just me. It wasn't the fact that I almost drowned when I was little. It wasn't the fact that I've had this go on and that go on in my childhood. It was just BK that day doing her thing. And it was beautiful and it was wonderful. And it was a rare first moment of that. And I was swimming and I was trying to see how close I could swim to people and this dude, and I was trying to match my face with his face, and I was just totally enjoying the fact that I wasn't anxious. And it was just a beautiful moment. And I got done with that swim, and then I was like done. I had accomplished what I had wanted to do that year. Of course, I had the bike to do, and then, you know, the run. It's an Ironman. And when I saw my coach after the bike, I just basically jumped on her and just had a moment of huge celebration about the swim. And I have a picture of this about her laughing at me. You've just done 112 on the bike. Why aren't you celebrating about that? And I'm like, I don't know, but the swim was so amazing. Anyway, learning how to do that and showing up and doing the hard work graces you with a wonderful life-changing experience. So, one last thing that I'm going to tell you kind of story-wise is one of the things that I coach people, specifically on the swim, but just in racing in general, is to have the best race pictures ever. Okay? Plan them. It keeps you mentally in the game. It keeps you positive. Be creative with it. It helps you to make a bunch of good decisions if you have the best race pictures ever. And they're fun to post on Facebook too. So one of my favorites is the second time I did Ironman Wisconsin. That's in 2016. I got out of the water. I checked him. This is me celebrating the fact that through everything that I've been through, I still call my own shots, and I still show up and put up and give it everything that I got. I love that swim picture just because it embodies all the struggles that I've had and all the hard work that I have had to put in, but it's been totally worth it. Totally worth it. So that's kind of the flavor of what I'm going to try to give to you guys of, there's just a lot of different things to approach if you're struggling with the swimming or new to the sport. Swimming goes sideways all the time. It's one of the things that you have the least amount of control on. It's the hardest stuff. I can't tell you how many crazy swim stories I have. But it's by far been one of the most worthwhile things that I've ever done in my life. So, kind of wrapping this up a little bit. I'm reading my list. So, we're going to go more into depth in these videos coming up. Very specific things, and there will be some specific workouts on the webpage. So never fear, lots of information coming. There is an epic amount of pool stuff and gym swim stuff that you can do. So in the gym, if you're doing strength training the way I prescribe to you and your yoga stuff, and your shoulders are equally strong and balanced, you will swim straighter, meaning you will sight less. Meaning when it's stupid choppy, you drink less water. No, for real though. There's to prepare for open water swimming and to prepare for good swimming, there's a lot of good things that you can do in the pool mentally to prepare yourself. One of my favorites is doing like fast 50s, not from the aspect of getting faster, even though that's fun, but to get your heart rate up and to get a little upset, but to still manage your stuff, still handle yourself. Don't give in, don't give up, learn how to control the heart rate. One of the biggest things that I tell people is exhale. Lengthen the exhale. Exhale. If you are upset, exhale. If you're touching on getting into asthma type stuff, heart condition type stuff, swim-induced pulmonary edema type stuff, exhale. Exhale. Lengthen the exhale. Exhaling and going. Also, interesting factoid, engages the vagal nerve to calm your heart rate down. Exhale. It pushes the diaphragm down. That's what triggers that vagal response. It's a beautiful thing. You have automatic stuff going on to control yourself. You're not just at the whim of the chimp brain. You can calm yourself down. Okay, so if someone's upset, instead of telling them to calm down, tell them exhale and do it with them. Nobody likes to be told to calm down. It's got a kind of a negative connotation to it, that something's wrong, they're bad, they're whatever. Just say, hey, yo, exhale, and do it with them, okay? In open water swimming, in video 3, we're going to talk about kind of some logistics on doing smart open water swimming stuff. So you want to pay attention to that one. There's some very, very specific things. Run before you swim. If it's cold, here's what to do. Da 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 da. How to get your wetsuit on right. And believe it or not, using the right lube helps with that wetsuit thing. You could use that deodorant type stuff and you're not going to get your wetsuit on right. Use the spray stuff and Bob's your uncle. Yeah, the open water swim video 3 is going to be really good on, especially for new people, on learning how to get into open water swimming practice. Have a ton of grace for yourself, because not only are you not the top of the food chain, you don't have gills. Being cold, we go out when it's like above 52, 55, it's cold. The physiological response to cold water is off the chain, because not only do you not have gills, flippers, fins, you don't have a lot of hair or feathers. You're gonna get cold. So the physiological response to being that cold is real. It's in your face, and yes, you can control it, but don't think that because you've been running for 20 years that it's going to be easy. Okay, it's not. It's hard, and it's natural. It's instinctive. Give yourself a lot of grace. So that first couple of times going out, we'll talk more about that in video 3. I think that that's going to do it for this first video. Talk a lot about the psychological things going on, how you're designed as a human being, what makes swimming difficult, and then how either traumatic events or our health status at this point, you know, if you're hormonally off, if you have, you know, issues that cause you to have anxiety, If you're just kind of that person that has anxiety, or that person that, you know, is a little more intuitive and feels things a little bit more, swimming is legitimately difficult, can be very difficult. And so give yourself a lot of grace on learning how to do this stuff. Slow it down a little bit and pay attention to the different aspects that you need to develop in order to be a strong, confident, resilient swimmer. It doesn't matter if you're really fast. It matters if you can manage yourself on the swim. I got that Redman swim done because I just chuckled on the fact that the wetsuit was going to keep me up and I wasn't going to drown. Had I got all upset and everything, it could have been, with my heart condition, it could have been dangerous, but I just laughed about it and, you know, was kind of ducking in. I was adjusting fire during. And that being said, for those that are listening and know about the NOLA 2016 fiasco, that swim was incredibly terrible. It was like a scene out of the Titanic. I mean, literally people screaming and trying to get out of the water. It was horrific. And I actually made the call to not do the swim because I couldn't get myself in control. I got swim-induced pulmonary edema. I was on a different heart med. The swim buoys were moving everywhere, and the kayakers couldn't get to anybody. So knowing how to manage yourself on a swim and making good decisions, being prepared, doing the work, can kind of take you out of being sort of a victim in a whim to Mother Nature, or a whim just survive the swim. No, we can all get into commanding the swim. That doesn't mean it's blazingly fast. It means that you do the swim on your own terms, okay? If you have a swim pace that's fast enough to get it done, freaking awesome. Stop comparing yourself to the fast triathlon world. Maybe open it up and compare yourself to everybody, 98% of the population that's not swimming. Okay, think about that, grace. So more nitty-gritty stuff coming up in videos 2, 3, and 4. So let me know if you have any questions. You can connect with me on the website, trainwithcoachbk.com. Hope you're having a great day. Hope you found this informational. If you have any questions, shoot me an email or whatnot, and I will answer questions or shoot you back an answer via email, or I might put it on a question and answer on the website. Have a great day, people. Namaste.